Before we dive into the deep waters of this operation, into the shadows where intelligence agencies operate without rules, make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Hit that notification bell. We are exposing the files that governments want to keep burned, and you don't want to miss the next investigation into the machinery of secret warfare. The Red Sea at night is a void. It is a stretch of black water where the horizon vanishes, merging the dark ocean with the starless sky, creating a vacuum where anything can hide and everything can disappear. It is a shipping lane for the world's commerce, a playground for pirates, and a highway for smugglers moving the currency of conflict, weapons, narcotics, and the dirty money that pays for it all. In the late autumn of 2009, a rusty, nondescript fishing trawler chugged slowly through these waters, roughly 40 miles off the coast of Sudan. To a passing satellite or a naval patrol, it was just another vessel in a sea full of them, a beat-up ship named the Al-Harris, ostensibly hunting for grouper and mackerel to sell in the markets of Port Sudan. The paint was peeling, the deck was cluttered with nets that smelled of brine and old fish, and the engine coughed black smoke that dissipated into the humid air. But the Al-Harris was not fishing, it was waiting. Inside the cabin, the air conditioning was broken, a deliberate choice to maintain the cover. But beneath the floorboards, in a space that should have held fish storage, hummed millions of dollars in encrypted communications equipment. The men on board were not fishermen. They were ghosts. They were men who technically did not exist, carrying passports for people who had never left their home countries. They were part of the Caesarea unit, the tip of the spear for Israel's intelligence service, the Mossad. They were operating in the space between legend and classified files. Their target was not a military general or a bomb maker. It was something far more elusive and, in the eyes of Tel Aviv, far more dangerous. They were hunting a ghost of the financial world, a man known in intelligence circles simply as the Ledger. His real name was Nabil Al-Fayed, a financier who had turned the chaos of the Middle East into a streamlined business. He didn't build rockets, he bought them. He didn't dig tunnels, he paid for the concrete. He was the architect of the logistical networks that sustained Hamas, moving millions in funding through shell companies, charitable fronts, and digital transfers that left no trace. Just as the Mossad had once hunted the logistical genius Mahmoud al-Mabhouh for his role in arming Gaza, they had now turned their sights on the money. The decision had been made in air-conditioned rooms in Tel Aviv, far from the salt spray of the Red Sea. The logic was cold and mathematical. Eliminate the engineer, you delay the weapon. Eliminate the financier, you starve the entire war. Nabil was careful. He knew the stories. He knew about the red page, the authorization for elimination that had no expiration date. He knew about the silent deaths in European hotels and the car bombs in Damascus. Because of this, Nabil never slept in the same bed twice. He avoided cell phones. He conducted his most sensitive business in the one place he believed was free from microphones and cameras, the open sea. He was wrong. On this night, Nabil was scheduled to meet a contact aboard a luxury yacht traversing these international waters. It was supposed to be a safe handover, cash for codes, gold for guidance. He believed the sea granted him anonymity. He did not realize that the rusted fishing trawler bobbing in the distance was not there for the fish. He did not realize that his death had been planned with the same precision used to steal a MiG-21 or to hunt a target on a train to Rome. The operation, codenamed Sea Smoke, was about to prove that in the modern age of intelligence, there is no such thing as a safe harbor. To understand how a team of elite operatives ended up on a fishing boat in the middle of the night, one must look at the bureaucracy of elimination. Assassinations, or resolutions, as they are clinically termed in the intelligence world, do not happen like they do in the movies. They are the product of months, sometimes years, of grinding, unglamorous work. The hunt for Nabil Al-Fayed began 3 years prior, inside the fluorescent-lit offices of Unit 8200, Israel's Signals Intelligence Corps. A young analyst tasked with monitoring transaction flows from the Gulf states to the Levant noticed an anomaly. It wasn't a large transfer. Terrorists learned long ago that large transfers trigger red flags in the SWIFT banking system. It was the pattern. Small charitable donations from seemingly unconnected organizations in Southeast Asia and South America were converging on a single import-export firm in Khartoum, Sudan. The firm, Red Sea Logistics, claimed to ship agricultural machinery. But when analysts cross-referenced the shipping manifests with satellite imagery of the firm's warehouse, the math didn't hold up. They were importing heavy machinery but exporting almost nothing. Yet their bank accounts remained flush. It was the classic signature of money laundering, similar to the networks Mahmoud al-Mabhouh had used to move Iranian weapons. But connecting a Sudanese shell company to Hamas leadership required human intelligence. Mossad activated its network of Sayanim, volunteers and helpers embedded in communities worldwide who provide logistical support. In this case, they needed eyes on the ground in Khartoum. Sudan in the late 2000s was a hub for illicit activity, a transit point where Iranian weapons moved north through the desert to Egypt and then into Gaza. It was a dangerous playground for a spy. The breakthrough came from a disgruntled clerk at a Sudanese bank. He wasn't an ideologue, he was just underpaid. For a fee, he provided a thumb drive containing 5 years of transaction logs for Red Sea Logistics. The data was a gold mine. It revealed that the company was merely a pass-through entity. The ultimate beneficiary was a series of numbered accounts in Malaysia and Turkey, all controlled by a single signatory, Nabil Al-Fayed. Nabil was a phantom. Born in Lebanon, educated in London, he had the veneer of a legitimate businessman. He wore Italian suits, spoke 4 languages, and could discuss global economics with the sophistication of a Wall Street banker. This duality was his armor. Much like Atef Biseso, the PLO intelligence chief who wore tailored suits and dined with Western intelligence officers, Nabil used his westernized persona to deflect suspicion. He didn't look like a terrorist financier, he looked like a hedge fund manager. But the files told a different story. They linked him directly to the procurement of dual-use technologies, electronics that could guide missiles, chemicals that could fuel explosives. He was the man who made the war possible. The file on Nabil landed on the desk of the Mossad director. The debate that followed was intense. Nabil lived mostly in friendly or neutral countries, staying in 5-star hotels in Istanbul, Dubai, and Kuala Lumpur. Taking him out in a NATO country or a major financial hub carried immense diplomatic risk. The disaster of the Dubai operation in 2010, where cameras captured every move of the hit squad, was still a fresh wound in the agency's memory. They could not afford another scandal involving forged passports and hotel corridors. They needed a clean location, a place where there were no cameras, no police jurisdiction, and no witnesses. Intelligence reports indicated that Nabil had a unique paranoia. He feared electronic surveillance above all else. He believed correctly that phones could be tapped and rooms could be bugged. So, for his highest level dealings, the meetings where physical cash or diamonds were exchanged for sensitive bank access codes, he preferred the open ocean. He would charter yachts or commercial vessels, sail into international waters, and conduct his business where the only witnesses were the waves. It was a brilliant security measure, but it was also a fatal vulnerability. By isolating himself at sea, he removed the protection of sovereignty. There are no police in international waters. The director signed the red page. The operation was a go. But they couldn't just blow up his boat. That would look like a military strike and could trigger a war. They needed it to look like a disappearance, a piracy incident, or a tragic accident at sea. It had to be surgical. The order went down to Caesarea. They needed a team that could operate on the water, hijack a vessel without raising an alarm, neutralize a target surrounded by armed guards, and vanish. The first step in a maritime assassination is not the weapon, it is the boat. You cannot hunt a shark while riding a dolphin. The team needed a vessel that could blend into the chaotic maritime traffic of the Red Sea, a stretch of water filled with everything from supertankers to Somali skiffs. Operatives were dispatched to the port of Djibouti. Djibouti was a strategic choke point, a place where French, American, and Chinese militaries rubbed shoulders with smugglers and spies. It was the perfect place to buy a boat without asking questions. A Mossad field operative, using the cover of a French marine salvage businessman, a legend constructed with the same depth as Wolfgang Lotz's German horse breeder identity, began scouring the docks. He wasn't looking for speed, he was looking for invisibility. He found it in the Al-Haris. The Al-Haris was a 60-foot trawler that had seen better days. Its hull was rusted, its rigging was frayed, and it smelled of diesel and decay. It was perfect. It was the kind of boat that Coast Guards ignored and pirates deemed not worth the fuel to chase. The purchase was made in cash. Then, the modifications began. The boat was sailed to a secluded cove in Eritrea, where a technical team went to work. This was the same level of tradecraft used to hide a radio transmitter in a horse stable in Cairo, but on a nautical scale. They reinforced the hull from the inside with Kevlar panels, invisible from the exterior, but capable of stopping small arms fire. They overhauled the engine, keeping the noisy, smoking exhaust system to maintain the disguise, but replacing the internal pistons and transmission with high-performance parts. The Al-Haris could now hit speeds of 30 knots if pushed, a sleeper agent in boat form. The most critical modification was the fish hold. The refrigerated compartment below deck was gutted. In its place, they installed a sealed command center. It was soundproofed and shielded against electronic detection. Inside, they installed encrypted satellite uplinks, real-time radar that could track a target from 20 miles away, and a weapons locker stocked with tools of the trade, silenced submachine guns, stun grenades, and modified medical equipment for sedation. The team that would crew this vessel was handpicked. They were not just intelligence officers, they were veterans of Shayatet 13, Israel's naval commando unit. These were men who could swim miles underwater, breach a ship's hull in total darkness, and fight in the confined corridors of a vessel. Leading the team was an operative we will call Eitan. Eitan was a ghost even among ghosts. He had operated in Europe, North Africa, and the Levant. He possessed the moral compartmentalization required to execute lethal missions without hesitation. He was calm, analytical, and utterly ruthless. For 3 weeks, the team lived on the Al-Haris, acclimatizing to the cramped conditions. They grew beards, let their skin burn in the sun, and learned to handle the nets and lines like seasoned fishermen. They had to be convincing. If a patrol boat stopped them, they needed to look, smell, and act like exhausted Sudanese fishermen, not elite commandos. They practiced the boarding maneuver at night. They worked on the timing, the silence. They developed a code system using ship lights and engine revs, similar to the Bluetooth pulses used in the Rome train operation. 1 rev meant hold, 2 meant go. A flicker of the mast light meant target confirmed. By November, the trap was set. The Al-Haris drifted into the shipping lanes, casting nets into the empty water, waiting for the signal. Intelligence is a game of patience. You cast a wide net and wait for a ripple. For weeks, the Al-Haris crew did nothing but fish and sweat in the stifling heat of the Red Sea. The psychological toll of deep cover is immense. The boredom, the isolation, the constant fear of exposure. But they maintained their discipline. Then the signal came. Nabil Al-Fayed flew from Kuala Lumpur to Cairo, then took a connecting flight to Port Sudan. He traveled under the name Tariq Haddad, a Lebanese agricultural consultant. His passport was a masterpiece of forgery, but it didn't matter. Mossad had his biometric data. They knew his walk, the way he held his briefcase, the rhythm of his breathing. Agents in Port Sudan tracked him from the airport. He checked into the Hilton, stayed in his room for 24 hours, and met no one. He was cleaning himself, checking for tails. He was disciplined, just like the Hamas commander on the train who avoided eye contact and kept to himself. On the second night, Nabil left the hotel and took a taxi to the commercial docks. He boarded a vessel named the Sea Star. It was a 100-foot luxury yacht, registered in Panama, officially owned by a shell company in the British Virgin Islands. It was white, sleek, and conspicuously out of place among the tankers and cargo ships. The Sea Star departed Port Sudan at 02 Holarn, heading due east into international waters. Aboard the Al-Haris, the satellite uplink chirped. A coded message from Tel Aviv flashed on the screen in the command center. Target mobile, vector 092, intercept at Point Alpha. Eitan looked at his men. They were shirtless, sweating, covered in grease and fish scales. They didn't look like assassins. They looked like wrecks. He nodded. It's time. The Al-Haris pulled up its nets. The engine note changed from a lazy chug to a deep, purposeful thrum as the modified transmission engaged. They turned the bow east into the darkness. The plan was complex. They couldn't just storm the yacht. Nabil had bodyguards. Intelligence estimated 4 armed men on board, likely mercenaries. A firefight would be messy and loud. If Nabil had time to use a radio, he could call for help or worse, dump the encrypted hard drives and ledgers overboard. The mission wasn't just to neutralize him, it was to confirm the financial network. They needed his laptop. They needed a ruse. The strategy was borrowed from the classics of deception. They would play the victim. In the vastness of the ocean, the law of the sea dictates that you help a vessel in distress. It is a code older than nations. Mossad was about to weaponize human empathy, just as they had weaponized romance in the capture of Vanunu. They would stage a catastrophic engine failure and a fire. They would drift into the path of the Sea Star, waving distress flares. When the yacht slowed to check on them, or to wave them off, they would be close enough. Distance is the enemy of the commando. You need to close the gap. Once they were within 20 meters, the disguise would drop. The interception point was 40 nautical miles offshore, well beyond the territorial waters of Sudan or Saudi Arabia. The sea was calm, the swell gentle. The moon was a sliver, providing just enough light to see silhouettes, but not details. The radar on the Al-Haris tracked the Sea Star. It was moving fast, cruising at 20 knots. Nabil was in a hurry. "Cut the engines," Aitan ordered. The trawler went silent. The crew got to work. They ignited a smoke canister on the aft deck. Thick, acrid gray smoke began to billow out, simulating an engine room fire. It looked terrifyingly real. They smeared grease on their faces to look like they had been fighting a blaze. One operative lay on the deck, feigning a severe injury, wrapped in bloody bandages. The blood was theatrical, but the effect was visceral. As the Sea Star's lights appeared on the horizon, Aitan grabbed a handheld flare. He waited. Timing was everything. If he fired too early, the yacht might just radio the Coast Guard and keep going. If he fired too late, they would pass by. He had to wait until they were nearly abeam. The yacht drew closer. Its sleek white hull glowed in the starlight. Music drifted across the water, soft jazz. Nabil was traveling in style. When the yacht was half a mile away, Aitan pulled the cord. The red flare hissed and shot into the sky, hanging there like a bleeding star. "Mayday! Mayday!" The Arabic-speaking operative screamed into the open radio channel, his voice cracking with panicked perfection. "Fire on board! We are sinking! Help us! In the name of God, help us!" On the bridge of the Sea Star, the captain saw the flare. He saw the smoke billowing from the ragged trawler. He checked his radar. No other ships were nearby. Nabil Al-Fayed was in the main salon, reviewing spreadsheets on an encrypted laptop. He looked up as the engines slowed. "Why are we stopping?" he asked his head of security, a hulking man named Rashid. "Distress signal," Rashid said, peering out the window. "Some fisherman's boat is burning." Nabil frowned. "Ignore it. We have a schedule." "We can't just leave them, sir," the captain argued over the intercom. "Maritime law. And if they sink and we were seen passing by, it draws attention. We check, we call it in, we leave." Nabil hesitated. His paranoia warred with his logic. Attention was bad. Leaving a burning boat to die was the kind of thing that triggered investigations. "Fine," he snapped. "Don't let them on board. Call the Sudanese Coast Guard. Give them water if they need it, but keep the guards ready." The Sea Star turned. It slowed, edging closer to the Al-Haris. On the deck of the trawler, Aitan watched the yacht turn. His heart rate slowed. This was the kinetic moment, the instant where potential energy becomes action. "They're taking the bait," he whispered into his throat mic. Beneath the gunnels, the other operatives checked their weapons. They had MP5SD submachine guns, integrally suppressed weapons that made little more than a metallic click when fired. They checked the flashbang grenades. The yacht pulled alongside, keeping a cautious distance of 30 meters. A spotlight from the yacht swept over the trawler, illuminating the smoke, the panicked men waving their arms, the injured man groaning on the deck. "Stay back!" a guard shouted from the yacht's railing, pointing an AK-47. "We are calling help for you!" "We can't wait!" Aitan shouted back in Arabic. "The fire is reaching the fuel. We need to evacuate. Please." He steered the trawler closer, acting as if the steering was failing, letting the boat drift inexorably toward the yacht's pristine hull. "Back off!" The guard yelled. "I can't control it," Eitan screamed. The two hulls collided with a sickening crunch of fiberglass meeting steel. "Go," Eitan whispered. The transition from panicked fishermen to elite killers took less than a second. It was a transformation as jarring as the chemical injection used in Dubai. As the boats impacted, the operatives on the Al-Haris didn't scramble for safety. They launched, using grappling hooks and pure athletic power. 4 men vaulted over the railing of the Sea Star. They moved with a fluidity that defied the chaos. They were ghosts materializing on the deck. The guard who had been shouting orders barely had time to register the change in their demeanor. He raised his AK-47, but he was too slow. Eitan, the first over the rail, didn't shoot. A gunshot, even suppressed, is a distinct sound. Instead, he closed the distance and used a technique refined in the dojos of Tel Aviv. He struck the guard's throat, crushing the windpipe, then swept his legs. As the man fell, Eitan drove a knee into his chest and applied a chokehold. The guard went limp in 6 seconds, unconscious, neutralized, silent. "Clear right," Eitan signaled. The team split up. 2 moved toward the bridge to secure the captain. 2 moved toward the main salon where the target was located. The element of surprise was absolute. The passengers on the yacht were still processing the collision. They thought they were dealing with incompetent fishermen. They had no idea they had just been boarded by Caesarea. On the bridge, the captain was reaching for the radio handset. "Port Sudan Control, this is Sea Star. We have a collision." The door to the bridge slid open. An operative stepped in, his face covered by a black balaclava now that the ruse was over. He held a pistol. "Put the radio down," the operative said in perfect English, "and turn off the engines." The captain froze. He looked at the gun, then at the man. He put the radio down. Below deck, things were more volatile. Rashid, the head of security, was a professional. He heard the thud of the body on the deck above. He didn't hesitate. He drew his sidearm and moved toward the stairs. "Stay here," he told Nabil. Nabil sat at the table, his laptop open. The blue light of the screen illuminated his face. He felt a sudden cold dread. This wasn't a fire. This wasn't an accident. Rashid reached the top of the stairs. He saw a shadow move. He fired. Bang. The shot was loud, unsuppressed. It echoed across the water, shattering the carefully crafted silence of the operation. "Compromised," Eitan hissed over the comms. "Go loud. Execute." The plan shifted instantly. Stealth was gone. Now, it was about speed and violence of action. Rashid's shot had missed, embedding itself in the teak deck. The operative he aimed at returned fire. The suppressed MP5 coughed 3 times. Thwip, thwip, thwip. Rashid collapsed, tumbling down the stairs, landing at Nabil's feet. Nabil stared at the body. He stared at the blood spreading on the carpet. He reached for his laptop, his fingers trembling, trying to hit the delete key sequence. The door to the salon kicked open. 2 men in black tactical gear stood there. They didn't look like fishermen anymore. They looked like the end of the line. "Hands away from the computer!" one of them shouted. Nabil froze. He knew with a terrible certainty who these men were. He knew that no amount of money, no shell companies, and no ocean could save him now. He raised his hands. The silence that followed the breach was heavier than the gunfire. In the main salon of the Sea Star, the air smelled of cordite and expensive cologne. Nabil Al-Fayed sat with his hands raised, his eyes darting between the 2 operatives whose faces were hidden behind black balaclavas. The body of his bodyguard, Rashid, lay motionless on the floor, a stark reminder that the rules of the boardroom no longer applied here. Eitan holstered his weapon but kept his hand near the grip. He didn't shout. He didn't scream. He simply walked over to the table and closed the laptop, sliding it under his arm. "The encryption key," Eitan said. His voice was calm, almost bored. It was the voice of a man who had done this 100 times. "Give it to me." Nabil swallowed hard. He was a man of numbers, of calculated risks. He quickly ran the probability in his head. If he gave them the key, he was useless to them. If he withheld it, he was an obstacle. I don't know what you're talking about," he stammered, his English accent faltering. "I am a businessman. This is piracy. My government will..." Your government doesn't know you're here, Aitan interrupted, sitting in the chair opposite Nabil. And even if they did, they wouldn't claim you. You are a ghost, Nabil, just like us. And right now you are sitting in international waters with men who do not exist. Aitan signaled to the second operative, a specialist we will call Yossi. Yossi placed a small, ruggedized device on the table, a field decryption unit designed by Unit 8200. He connected a cable to Nabil's laptop. We don't need you to tell us the password, Aitan continued, leaning forward. We have software that will break it in about 40 minutes. But 40 minutes is a long time to wait, and I am on a tight schedule. If you give it to me now, we can discuss arrangements. It was a lie, of course. There were no arrangements. The red page was absolute. But interrogation is about hope. You have to give the subject a sliver of hope, a belief that compliance might buy survival. Nabil looked at the device. He looked at Rashid's body. He realized the terrifying professionalism of these men. They weren't pirates looking for ransom. They were hunters looking for a kill. It's a biometric key, Nabil whispered, his defiance crumbling. Fingerprint and a 20-character alphanumeric sequence. Type it, Aitan said, opening the laptop and spinning it around. Nabil hesitated. His fingers hovered over the keys. This laptop contained the entire financial architecture of Hamas's military wing. It held the account numbers in Malaysia, the shell companies in Turkey, the names of corrupt customs officials in Egypt. Giving this up was treason. It was a death sentence from his own people. But the barrel of the gun was very real, and his own people were very far away. He typed the code. The screen flashed green. Access granted. Good, Aitan said, pulling the laptop back. Yossi, clone the drive. Everything, then verify the accounts. As the data began to transfer, Aitan looked at Nabil with a cold curiosity. You lived a good life, Nabil. Hotels, yachts, fine dining. All paid for with money meant for the people of Gaza. Do you ever think about that? Nabil straightened his jacket, attempting to regain some dignity. I am a patriot, he said, his voice trembling but firm. War costs money. I provide the money. I am no different than your bankers in Tel Aviv or New York. The difference, Aitan said, standing up, is that my bankers don't buy rockets to fire at school buses. The interrogation wasn't just about the password, it was about confirmation. Aitan needed to know that Nabil was indeed the ledger. The way Nabil looked at the screen, the way he panicked when the transfer started, it confirmed everything. This was the man, the head of the snake. Above deck, the rest of the team was securing the ship. The captain and the remaining crew members, 3 Filipinos and a Sudanese deckhand, had been rounded up in the galley. They were zip-tied and blindfolded. They were terrified, convinced they were being robbed by Somali pirates. The Mossad team played along, speaking in broken Arabic and English, demanding to know where the safe was, where the gold was. It was part of the cover. If anyone survived to tell the tale, the story had to be piracy. But Aitan knew the hardest decision was yet to come. What to do with the crew? They were witnesses. Innocent men caught in the gears of a secret war. The Mossad ethics code was complex, often contradictory, but killing uninvolved civilians was a line they tried not to cross unless absolutely necessary for survival. Commander, Yossi said, looking up from the screen. We have it. The accounts in Kuala Lumpur. The transfers from Tehran. It's all here. It's huge. Hundreds of millions. Aitan nodded. Pack it up. We're leaving. And him? Yossi gestured to Nabil. Aitan looked at the financier. Nabil saw the look. He saw the finality in it. You said, arrangements, Nabil gasped. I lied, Aitan said. While the kinetic phase of the operation, the boarding and securing, was physical and brutal, the intelligence victory was happening silently on a hard drive. Yossi, the team's technical specialist, was currently performing one of the most significant bank heists in history, though not a single dollar would end up in his pocket. The laptop was a treasure trove. Nabil Al-Fayed had been meticulous. He hadn't just stored bank access codes, he had kept a digital diary of transactions. There were emails to Iranian liaisons in the Revolutionary Guard, discussing the shipment of agricultural equipment that was clearly code for missile components. There were spreadsheets detailing payoffs to border guards at the Rafah crossing. Yossi worked with the speed of a concert pianist. He wasn't just copying files, he was installing a worm. This malware, developed specifically for this operation, would infect the banking portals Nabil accessed. It wouldn't drain the accounts immediately. That would trigger alarms. Instead, it would freeze them. It would scramble the routing numbers, change the passwords, and effectively lock Hamas out of its own war chest. "Look at this," Yossi murmured to Eitan, pointing at a file named Project Iron. "It's a procurement list. Guidance chips, gyroscopes. They're trying to build precision rockets." This was the smoking gun. For years, Hamas rockets had been unguided projectiles, terror weapons that hit random targets. If they were acquiring guidance technology, the threat level to Tel Aviv's infrastructure, power plants, the airport, military bases, would skyrocket. "We need to get this to HQ immediately," Eitan said. "Can we transmit from here?" "Too risky," Yossi replied. "The file size is too big. If we burst transmit now, anyone listening, the Americans, the French in Djibouti, might pick up the signal spike. We carry the drive out." Nabil watched them, his face pale. He realized the magnitude of his failure. He hadn't just lost his life, he had exposed the entire network. He had compromised agents, suppliers, and routes that had taken a decade to build. "You can't stop it," Nabil said suddenly, a desperate attempt to assert control. "The money is like water. You block one stream, it finds another. You kill me, another takes my place." "Maybe," Eitan said, bagging the hard drive. "But it will take them years to rebuild the trust you had. You were the only one who knew all the codes, weren't you?" "Compartmentalization. Your greatest strength is now their greatest weakness." Nabil slumped. It was true. He had hoarded the access, trusting no one. When he died, the keys to the kingdom died with him. The team began the process of sterilizing the scene. They wiped down surfaces they had touched, though they had worn gloves. They collected the shell casings from the firefight. They wanted the scene to look chaotic, like a robbery gone wrong, not a surgical intelligence operation. They raided the yacht's safe, taking the cash, about $50,000 in euros and dollars, and a collection of luxury watches. These items would never be seen again, likely destroyed or thrown into the ocean miles away. The theft was essential to the narrative. Pirates steal watches. Intelligence agencies steal hard drives. 2 minutes to extraction, Eitan ordered over the comms. The operatives moved with practiced efficiency. They dragged Rashid's body into the hallway, positioning it to look like he had been shot while defending the safe. They messed up the salon, overturning chairs and smashing a vase. Then came the final act for Nabil. There was no ceremony, no last words. Eitan motioned for Nabil to stand up. They moved him to the master cabin. It needed to look like an execution during a robbery. Nabil began to weep. It was a human moment, stripping away the veneer of the sophisticated financier. He was just a man who didn't want to die. "Turn around," Eitan said. Nabil turned toward the porthole, looking out at the Black Sea. The suppressed pistol coughed twice. Nabil al-Fayed fell. The ledger was closed. The Sea Star was now a crime scene, floating in the silence of the Red Sea. But Mossad couldn't just leave it drifting. If the crew freed themselves too early, they could radio for help. And the Al-Haris, slow and lumbering, would be intercepted by the Sudanese Navy or a passing warship. They needed to buy time. Eitan went to the galley where the crew was tied up. He spoke to them in rough Arabic, adopting the persona of a ruthless pirate captain. "We are leaving," he growled. "If you move, if you touch the radio for 1 hour, we will blow up the ship. We have planted a bomb. Do you understand?" The captain nodded frantically, sweat pouring down his face. "We understand. Please, just go." It was a bluff. There was no bomb. But fear is a powerful anchor. To ensure the radio silence, Yossi went to the bridge and physically smashed the VHF radio and the satellite phone system. He ripped out the GPS module. He disabled the engines, cutting the fuel lines and tossing the keys to the ignition overboard. The Sea Star was now a dead hulk, drifting with the current. "We leave them alive?" one of the younger operatives asked Eitan as they moved to the extraction point on the rail. "We're not butchers," Eitan said. "They're sailors. They don't know who we are. To them, we're just pirates with strange accents. By the time they fix the engine or signal a passing ship with a flare, We'll be 50 miles away. The team rappelled back down to the Al-Haris. The transition was jarring. From the plush carpet and air conditioning of the luxury yacht back to the smell of diesel and rotting fish on the trawler. Cast off, Aitan ordered. The Al-Haris pushed away from the Sea Star. The trawler's engines revved, the modified transmission engaging the high-speed gear. They didn't race away immediately. That would look suspicious on radar. They moved slowly until they were a mile out, swallowed by the darkness. Then they ran. Aitan watched the white silhouette of the yacht disappear into the night. It looked peaceful, bobbing on the waves. Inside, 2 men were dead, and a financial empire had been decapitated. "Signal Tel Aviv," Aitan told the comms officer. Code phrase, "The fish are in the net. Market closed." Back on the Sea Star, the terrified crew waited in the dark galley. They counted the seconds, terrified that a bomb would detonate. It would be 3 hours before the captain finally chewed through his zip ties and broke down the door to the bridge. By the time he fired a distress flare, the Al-Haris was just a blip on the horizon, a ghost ship vanishing into the traffic of the shipping lane. The operation had shifted phases. The kinetic part was over. Now came the escape. And in the intelligence world, the exfiltration is often the most dangerous part. You are exhausted, your adrenaline is crashing, and you are carrying the evidence of a capital crime. The journey back to the pickup point was tense. The Al-Haris was ostensibly heading back to the fishing grounds, but in reality, it was sprinting toward a rendezvous point in the deep central channel of the Red Sea. Inside the trawler, the atmosphere was a mix of relief and high alertness. The operatives cleaned their weapons, stripping them down and oiling them. They changed out of their black tactical gear and back into the ragged shirts and shorts of fishermen. They wiped the grease paint from their faces. Yossi sat in the command center, clutching the hard drive. He knew that this piece of plastic and metal was worth more than the boat, the yacht, and probably the lives of everyone on board. If they were boarded now, by the Egyptians, the Saudis, or even a curious American destroyer, it would be a diplomatic catastrophe. "Radar contact," the lookout called. "Bearing 18 Nero, fast mover, patrol boat profile." Aitan moved to the screen. A blip was closing in from the Sudanese coast. It was moving at 40 knots. "Did the yacht get a signal out?" Aitan asked. "Impossible," Yossi said. "I smashed the comms. Maybe a backup handheld," Aitan mused. "Or maybe they just saw the flare from earlier and are finally investigating." The Al-Haris couldn't outrun a patrol boat. Its modified engines were fast for a trawler, but not that fast. "Action stations," Aitan ordered. "But keep it concealed. If they board, we play the dumb fisherman card. If they find the weapons, we fight." The thought of a firefight with the Sudanese Navy was a nightmare scenario. It would mean international headlines, captured Israeli agents, and a humiliation worse than the Lavon affair. The patrol boat closed to within a mile. Its searchlight swept the water, blindingly bright. The beam hit the Al-Haris, illuminating the rusted hull and the nets on the deck. Aitan stood on the bridge, squinting into the light. He grabbed the radio handset. He had to sell the performance of his life. "This is Al-Haris," he broadcast in a heavy, weary Arabic dialect common to the Red Sea coast. "Fishing vessel. Why the light? You are scaring the fish." The radio crackled. "Al-Haris, this is Sudan Coast Guard. State your origin and cargo." "Origin Port Sudan," Aitan replied, injecting a tone of annoyance. "Cargo is fish, and empty nets because of this light. We have permits." There was a long pause. The searchlight lingered on them. The patrol boat slowed, drifting parallel to them about 500 yards away. The gunners on the patrol boat were likely looking through binoculars. What did they see? A rusty boat, a few tired men in rags. No weapons, no high-tech antennas. They were retracted. "Al-Haris," the voice came back, sounding bored. "Maintain course. Stay clear of Sector 4. Military exercise." "Understood," Aitan said. "May God grant you a quiet night." The searchlight clicked off. The patrol boat accelerated away, its wake rocking the trawler. Aitan let out a breath he felt he had been holding for an hour. "Clear," he said. The rest of the voyage was uneventful. They reached the rendezvous point at 04, Hijacked. A dark shape rose from the water, an Israeli Dolphin-class submarine. It had been tracking them. a silent guardian beneath the waves. The transfer was quick. Zodiac boats ferried the operatives, the weapons, and the hard drive to the submarine. The Al-Harries was scuttled. They opened the seacocks, flooding the engine room. It sank slowly, taking its secrets to the bottom of the Red Sea. It would become an artificial reef, a home for the fish it had pretended to catch. As Eitan climbed down the hatch of the submarine, smelling the recycled air and the scent of diesel, he looked back one last time at the empty ocean. The Sea Star was miles away, drifting with its dead cargo. The Al-Harries was gone. They had come from the sea, and to the sea they returned. The physical impact of the operation was 2 dead bodies on a yacht. The strategic impact was a financial earthquake that shook the Middle East. 3 days later, the Sea Star was discovered by a passing freighter. The Sudanese authorities towed it to port. The local police investigation was predictable. Piracy gone wrong. Robbery. 2 men dead. The crew told stories of masked men who spoke strange Arabic and stole the cash. It was filed away as just another tragedy in a lawless region. But in the banking district of Kuala Lumpur, in the souks of Khartoum, and in the tunnels of Gaza, the real story was unfolding. Unit 8200 and the Mossad's Financial Warfare Division, Harpoon, went to work on the data from the hard drive. They didn't just freeze the accounts.